One of the more common calls that we get with A&A Masonry is a waterproofing issue that has to deal with a concrete slab that is over top of, say, a garage or a cold room, where water gets through the slab and drips into the room below. Here you can see there is a slab in the front of this home which is over top of the garage, and you can see where the crack has continued on through the slab, and water gets in there and destroys the underneath concrete, exposing the rebar, causes a great mess, drops on the car below. You can also see here that over time the homeowners have done some sort of application to try to prevent that from happening, and you can see where it just falls apart and cracks because it's not a non-permeable membrane. So what we're going to do when we take on this job, the first thing is the railings have to go. We're going to prep this and chip away at the concrete. We're going to maybe apply some hydraulic cement, a blue skin membrane, and then put a nice natural stone finish. Aesthetically, it's going to look amazing. Then we bring in some new railings. The only other challenge that we have with this particular job is getting from the steps up to this surface. By applying stone, we're raising the surface on each step, so we've got to make sure that we don't do anything that's going to make us out of code with respect to the rise of the steps. It's going to be an interesting project. You hear the crew already starting and breaking away some of the concrete below, getting ready for the stone application. So let's see how they progress, and we'll see how it ends up.
A&A Masonry, an award-winning company servicing the Greater Toronto Area and the Golden Horseshoe.
Okay, we're now at the bottom part. We're below the garage. We're where the steps begin at the driveway. What I was referring to just a moment ago in the other segment was the raising of the stone on the surface. We got to make sure that we deal with the risers, which is the face of the step. So we notice here on this job, as we start to pull it apart, we can see that whoever was here doing work before, they tried to put a thin layer of concrete on top of the step, obviously to try to protect some erosion. These type of fixes really aren't the proper way because moisture gets through this layer, gets trapped, and in our weather pattern where we're freezing and thawing many times throughout the day sometimes, it just causes havoc and continues to erode the cement below. And you can see that what happens is you can hear that it's hollow. We can just chip it out. And we're getting to the original step there. So the crew is going to demolish this concrete in the front, take the concrete layer off, and then start progressing with the stairs as they're building up, with the whole purpose again to seal the concrete slab that is leaking in the garage below. It's a big job, it's a very technical job, and you're going to see how beautiful it's going to look when they use the stone to protect all this concrete surface, and again finish with a nice beautiful product.
The call originally came in due to the slab at the top having deterioration and causing water and mold in the garage below. This water damage can be seen all the way from the top of the slab to the front of the garage, all the way to the inside of the garage. It was also noted that there was serious deterioration of the steps going down to the driveway. It can be seen that there was a failed attempt to cover up the deterioration with concrete that has fallen apart. The crew get things started with the demolition of the concrete surfaces of the steps and landings, as Greg described earlier. Not only does all this excess mortar that was put on to hide the deterioration of the steps need to be taken out, but also the crew needs to take out the existing railings as well. As the crew jackhammer the outer cement off the steps, and as they get deeper into the job, it became apparent that there was a hollow part coming to light where the steps meet the wall of the garage. As they continued to jackhammer away, this cavity became more and more apparent. This, being an additional problem that was not visible to this point, shows even more damage that will need to be dealt with on this job.
Okay, after demo, we discover the result of neglect of water, that it's originating from the top of the concrete slab, as we noted originally, which was what brought us here to this job in the first place, getting water in the garage. This below is a double masonry wall. It means there's block on the inside, followed up with brick on the outside. Gives it structure, but it also has a lot of cavities. So as water is entering from the top, it accumulates down here, has nowhere to go, and it just wreaks havoc onto the brick and the masonry work. And you can see by hammer and by touch, it just wants to fall apart and crumble, and that's what's causing a lot of other structural things. We can also see here, I don't know if you can zoom in, but you can see here there's a stress crack on the stonework because gravity is starting to pull this thing down. We also know that the cement steps, the concrete steps, have a huge cavity here, so we're not going to be able to apply stone on this. So we have to rip out all the water damaged brick and masonry. We have to refill that up, reinforce it with steel. We're going to frame it for the purpose of putting concrete and then follow it up with stone afterwards. We're going to give it a nice structure on which to put that brand new material on. It's going to look great. We're going to have the drip edges, manage the water flow. In the end, it's going to be a proper job. It will last, and we'll have managed the water, which is the whole purpose of this operation.
Once the steps have been fully prepared to have the stone put on, the crew get to work at cutting the stone to the exact measurements required to have the treads and risers installed up to code. As the stairs start to take place, the tremendous aesthetic upgrade of the appearance of the home starts to become apparent. As you can see, the crew puts in tremendous care to make sure each stone is cut perfectly to make a great design as well as a great fit on the steps.
Okay, we're here at the middle phase of this job, which is again very technical and kind of quirky with the size and the steps, the rises, the height of the steps, the length of the steps as it goes up. Originally we started this job because we had a leak in the garage from the top patio slab was getting through the cement and also through the foundation wall. We also had here originally a concrete step that wrapped around in an L shape and it was cracked here. So one of the things when we looked at this, it was we were uncertain as to what we would find and how we would deal with it. As we opened it up, we realized, and we could see here, there's a huge cavity under the stair landing, and that is what caused the stress crack in the concrete. So we decided, after removing the concrete, that we're going to continue the slab to match the driveway, come up against the steps here. We're going to reinforce it with steel. We're going to pump concrete under here. This is going to be solid. This is going to be solid. And we're going to confine, or we're going to reduce the steps to make them look a little more uniform. Now, if you follow me over here, what we've also done with the steps, we took the concrete slab here that was cracked, we're covering it with stone. That's the main purpose of this job, and then dealing with all the steps that were at different sizes and shapes. There was water that was getting in the double masonry wall, causing damage. So when we started to remove the concrete, we noticed here that all the debris, or all the water damage was happening in the double masonry wall. So we took that out, we poured concrete as a skeleton on which to lay the stone. And in this case, because of the configuration of the steps, we actually insert the stone into the masonry wall. The reason we do that is that if any water is dropping off the wall here, it won't land in a mortar joint, it will land on the tread, the solid piece of stone, and move with gravity down to the street. It's going to look great when we're done. We've got a few more things to do. We're going to touch up the mortar joints, we're going to finish the top landing, and when the railings come on, again, this will be another beautiful job done by A&A Masonry.
At this point of the job, you can see that things are being filled in and are in the finishing stages. Here you can see the edge of the top slab where the stone is hanging over and all earlier cracks addressed. Also, on the top of the slab, the stone has been laid and creates a great design. As well, you can see from this overview the steps as they go down to the driveway. This also shows the part that Greg talked about where the crew filled in the concrete where the driveway meets the steps to make it stable.
Okay, again, we're back. We're almost done this beautiful project, which was, if you remember, was originally brought to us because they were having water coming in through the garage from the patio above. We offered them a solution of natural stone, and that way we can treat the water situation and also make and beautify the house at the same time. It's a nice aesthetic improvement for a repair that has to be done. And if you take a look at the stonework here, you can see that we modified the steps. Originally we had to redo the concrete, we had to get under the brickwork behind the masonry wall, the double brick wall here, which was penetrated with water. Water was getting into the garage, and we re-poured the concrete. Then we were able to put stone, natural stone, on top to beautify it, but we also made consistent the size of the risers, which makes it a nice, easy gradient getting up to the front door. It was really difficult because of the quantity of steps that we have, the variations in different sizes when we first took over this job. But as you can see, our stonemasons did a beautiful job rectifying it, and now it's very consistent. It looks like it was built and intended this way. The homeowner's going to have no more water. We're excited to see the railings go up. This job's almost done. Another happy customer. We're really happy with this job.
As Greg earlier stated, this was a complex job that had a lot of parts to it and required the skill of A&A's top masons to pull this job off. You can see here the full structure of the home, including the steps, landing, and garage wall are now set up to be stable and last a long time. But also the aesthetic curb appeal of the home is great. So if you have a concern for your home or property, and if you want to get the right solution to make it safe from the elements and look great, make sure that you call the professionals at A&A and let them get to work for you to make your vision for your home or property an actuality and looking attractive from here on out. To schedule your next project, contact A&A Masonry today.